Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay from Sony AFFILIATTE, and what we're going to cover in this review is the Sony full-frame E-mount 28mm f2 lens, and that's what I got in my hand right here. The lens is quite affordable. It goes for
$448 US.
It's very compact, and it only weighs 7 ounces, 7.05 ounces actually. It's got a 49mm front filter thread, which is very small and compact. It's made up of 9 lens elements in 8 groups, and it has an internal focus motor mechanism, so nothing on the outside of the lens moves, only the center focus elements move, which enables a nice minimum focus distance of 11.42 inches or 29 centimeters. Alright, so here's what she looks like with the lens hood, and you can see it's a nice pedal design. It just screws on there. And I just wanted to show you what she looks like mounted up to my Sony a7R. So let me just mount her up quick. White dot to white dot. And there you go. So that's what it looks like mounted to the Sony a7R. And you can see overall it's pretty compact. Take the lens hood off. It's really compact. And this also screws on backwards. So when you're putting it in your bag, you can save some room. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you what this thing can do in the real world. I have a ton of sample photos, and what's pretty cool about this lens is it has the ability to take the conversion lenses. Sony made 2 conversion lenses that will adapt to this lens, and that's a really powerful feature. So for a relatively low cost, you get a fisheye and an ultra wide angle converter, so 21mm and a 16mm, which is what the fisheye works out to. Alright guys, so what I want to show you now is the wide angle conversion lens. It goes for $248 US, and what it does is it comes with this cool little bag, by the way, which is quite nice. I like that. Actually, drawstring you can pull and it just tightens down. But anyway, it's fairly compact. It has a built-in lens pedal hood, and it transfers the EXIF data, so it has some electronics associated with it. And what this does is it just screws on to the front of the other 28mm lens, and you can see there's like a red dot here. See that red dot? There's also a red dot on the conversion lens here. See that? So you just line up the red dot to the red dot like so, and that's it. Now it's attached. So now you have an effective 21mm f2.8 full frame lens, prime, and this is what it looks like from the front. So pretty cool. And I'll show you what this looks like, in the real world, how 28mm compares to 21mm and so forth. But I just wanted to show you how it works. And now to release the lens, it has this little lever here, okay? You just slide that forward, untwist counterclockwise, and it just unscrews. So be careful, it'll just unscrews and comes off, all right? It comes off really easy, so a little easier than you might expect. So just be careful, that's all. Alright guys, so here's the fisheye converter lens, and this also comes with a nice little bag to go in. This lens is noticeably heavier and larger than the 21mm wide angle conversion lens. So this one actually has a 180-degree field of view coverage, and it's f3.5, so it does slow down a little more than the other wide angle lens as well. So the maximum aperture f3.5, and you can see this makes the lens quite a bit larger. This thing actually comes in at 418 grams, 14.8 ounces for just the converter lens. So that's quite heavy considering that the 28mm lens only weighs 7 ounces itself. So the converter lens weighs twice what the actual lens weighs. Alright guys, so here we are in Lightroom, and what I wanted to show you here is just the 3 different photos from the bridge up close so you can get a better look at them. These were taken at f8, and this is the, just the lens, the 28mm lens, and this is with the wide angle conversion lens put on there. So that's what you gain. You can see how much you gain there. And these were shot in JPEG mode, so the distortion is also corrected. The distortion is actually pretty significant, as you will see in further shots. And this is the fisheye, 16mm equivalent. So there's 28, wide angle, fisheye. Alright, so let's move on to some more photos here. Let's check out what the 28mm lens can do first. And here is a nice river scene off to the left of a bridge. And let me just zoom in here so you can see this in more detail. Here's a picture of the fisherman here. He was fly fishing, and this was taken at f8 again, 1/100th of a second handheld. And next I wanted to show you some of the bridge architecture detail. This shot was taken at f2, and let me show you the focus area. Very nice. And here's the same shot at f4, and you can see the sharpness really crisps up quite nice. So moving on to some family photos and whatnot. This was on my deck here, and this shot came out pretty good. I like the background, how it rendered. The sun was through the trees there, and you can see here at f2 the bokeh is quite nice, and contrast is also nice. I shot this raw, so I did add a little bit of contrast to it just to let you know. Alright, so moving on to the lab photos, I wanted to go over these real quick because the distortion on this lens is quite significant. So you can see here, that's RAW versus JPEG, and that's at f2. So let me zoom in here so you can see the detail at f2. And you can see it's very sharp in the center area. And I'll move over to the corner that I could capture anyway. And you can see it's fairly sharp all the way over to the corner. Now, it's not the absolute corner, but this is, you know, as close as I can get with my tripod. Okay, let me just show you the raw quality real quick in the corner at f2, because this is wide open, so obviously it'll sharpen up as I stop down, and you can see even in raw the quality is very good. You could see the individual, you know, traces here, the little legs on the processor chip. I'm pretty happy with that, although the distortion is noticeable, as you can see here. So it sharpens up as you stop it down. So I'll just show you what f8 looks like raw here. Let me just zoom in, and you could see how much everything sharpened up. It's really nice. Very sharp across the board. Nice detail here on all the fiber type stuff. And the dollar. Some minimum focus distance testing here to show off what the bokeh can do. So this is at f8, and this is at f2. Let me just zoom in here to show you the sharpness. And that's what you get. It's pretty good. You can see the fall off of the depth of field really well on the screw here. Alright, so moving on to more real world photos, we have the Basherkill Wildlife Preserve that I went down to the other day. And here's a cool frame, I thought, from that area. And here's looking the other direction. And you can see this lens, you know, renders the scene quite well, in my opinion. Nice colors and whatnot. Those were JPEG files. This is an actual RAW file of a street scene that I like to use for testing. And you can see the distortion very clearly in this JPEG versus RAW comparison. And I went to this really awesome farm the other day with the family. Layla had a field day there with her school, and it was so much fun, and I took a bunch of sample photos. They big on renewable energy and whatnot. So they had some solar panels, and they had a wind turbine there. And the lens performed well. Here's another RAW versus JPEG. Sharpness is pretty good. I wanted to show you this corner in particular. This was taken at f8, and there's a little bit of purple fringing here up by the window. That's exactly why I took this shot, and I put the window in the corner because I knew it would push the lens to the limit. And you can see it, you know, at this view you can't really even notice it, obviously. But when you zoom in, you know, the nitty-gritty there, pixel peeping, and then the JPEG file corrects almost all of it. And it also stretches the window quite a bit. See that? So I just wanted, this was a good sample photo in that regard, and I just wanted to give you a close-up. This one was kind of cool. Not really anything special about the lens, but look at the head on the chicken. He was moving so fast. I had the shutter at 1/160th of a second, and this chicken moved its head. He clucked or whatever. I just thought that was pretty amazing. But anyway, here's some goats, or sheep rather, and they were really cute. Gotta love the sheep and the farm animals. Look at how sharp that is. Nice detail. And this is a cool, you know, just farm scene, I thought, with the dirt road moving through. And you can see the RAW versus JPEG. Here's another scene. This was actually looking towards the sun, so notice how the contrast is a little lower. And then looking away from the sun, obviously we have much more contrast and the colors are more vibrant. So that was actually a really good example of looking towards the sun versus not looking towards the sun. Here's another one. I'm aiming lower so the sun's not an issue at all. Michelle took this one, and I was petting these cute goats. This is Dominic, my friend's kid. Oh, we had a lot of fun at the farm. This is actually the farm's grounds. This is what it looks like. And this is another good example of a RAW versus JPEG, so you can see the distortion. So in the real world, it is definitely a significant factor. Okay, if you're shooting JPEG, it does a pretty good job correcting it though. And another cool scene from the farm. Just a narrow depth of field shot. And this is the woman that was in charge. She was giving the tour. Really fantastic, super nice lady. She did a really great job. This is her farm, I believe. Oh, this was a cool shot of a chicken I got. Here's actually the original frame JPEG mode, but I also shot RAW, and this is the RAW file that I processed a little bit, and I wanted to show you this up close so you can see the detail on this chicken, and it's very good. This was shot at f2, by the way, so this is f2 sharpness and f2 separation, and I tried to include some foreground and background grass so you can really see the fall off. And they had a cool chicken tractor there. This was the chickens that they bred for meat. So they had like a movable tractor. They would just move so they got fresh grass. And here's another frame that I liked. Big sky, nice clouds. So that's pretty much it with the 28mm. And now I just wanted to show you what the conversion lenses can do for you. So here is the wide angle. Looking on the deck, wide angle. And notice here's some RAW versus JPEG distortion. Pretty significant. Here's another shot, very similar to the other one I took. And you can see the RAW versus JPEG distortion. Here's another angle of the laundromat, and this is a great shot to show you the distortion that you get. And it's pretty significant, the barrel there. Look at that. So before, well, this is a JPEG file, and this is the RAW file. And again, the distortion, very noticeable. And here's another great example of what the wide angle can do as far as how much more you can see, but also notice the distortion on that rail there. It's very obvious. And I took a bunch of other shots. Had a lot of fun with this lens. Looking up, you can see the distortion towards the bottom. It's almost like a fisheye effect. Here it's really bad. Look at that. And here is Layla and Jace playing on the playground. Took a few wide angle shots with a slower shutter speed to try to get some excitement in the photos. There's the slide. Finally got the slide up. And looking up the playground there. Pretty cool. A few more shots from the farm. And this is looking towards the sun, so the contrast is a little lower. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the results. I'll just zoom in here so you can see the sharpness a little better. See the sharpness on the trees. It's pretty good. You do lose a little sharpness with the wide angle conversion lens, without a doubt. It's not too much, but you do lose a little bit for sure. There's the turbine here. You can see as you get towards the bottom, it gets a little bit more out of focus, because that's where the lens falls off in quality just a little bit towards the corners. Alrighty, so let's move on to the fisheye. And this is the Basher Kill Wildlife Preserve, and this is what you get with the fisheye. You can see how it wraps around the railing. Really cool effect, I think. Love the way it does that. I mean, the distortion kind of makes you woozy too, so it's only cool for certain situations. But if you're looking for that effect and you're looking for a cool, something different type lens, the fisheye is a lot of fun, I gotta tell you. And now, if you have the horizon in the center area, you really don't get much of a fisheye effect in a shot like this. Notice, it just looks like a really wide angle lens. So it's important to note that, depending on the subject matter, you won't really notice that it's a fisheye. So I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that. And here is the street scene, so you can see just how much fisheye distortion that you get. And here's a shot of the playground, and I wanted to show you just how much bend you get towards the edge of the lens. And I figured I'd use the playground and the kids and stuff as a good example. The edge of the house and the edge of the playground, for example. Here's Jace looking at me. Check him out. He's so cute. There's Layla. I was looking at the corner. Notice how I have the edge of the house right at the edge of the frame, and look at all that distortion there. And you could also see the playground. So I wanted to show you that. It was a pretty cool how you could fit all that in, you know, because of the 180-degree angle of view. So you get a lot in the frame, you know, at the edges, even though it's compressed and distorted. It's a really cool effect. Look at Bones here shaking his head. All right, so looking up at the tree, pretty cool effect. And then my nephew took a few shots. He got a bunch of really good ones. Having fun with the kids. Here's Jace on the deck. Really cute, playing around. I love the way it looks with the eyes and all that. Really, you get some good 3D pop with the fisheye, because the minimum focus distance. If you get really close, there's so much in the scene that it really, you know, gives you that 3D pop. Like, check it out. Yeah. This is another shot from off the deck, and you can see how much coverage. I mean, that's the whole backyard. And here's a nice one with the glasses on. Gotta love that. Nice work, nice work. There's Chloe getting in the frame. Alright guys, that's about it for this review, and I really hope you got what you were looking for. But bottom line is the Sony FE 28mm f2 lens goes for $448 US, and the 21mm ultra wide angle conversion lens that screws onto it goes for $248 US, and then the fisheye lens is $298, so it's almost $300 for that lens. So for just the prime $448, the 28mm f2 lens, it's a fast prime lens, and it's very sharp. It does suffer from some distortion. It's correctable, and it really doesn't affect the corners too much or anything like that, as you could see in the sample photos. So overall, I really like this lens. The wide-angle conversion lens is noticeably softer. You do lose a little bit of sharpness across the board. It adds significant size to the lens as well. It is affordable, though, at approximately $248 US. And the fisheye seems a little bit sharper than the wide-angle from my testing. So for $298 US, you do get a fisheye, which is fairly affordable. Alright guys, so thanks again for checking out the review, and be sure to subscribe. Have a nice day. Take care.